Probably have it.
I'd like to call the meeting to order and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item of business will be approval of the agenda as presented. Any changes, modifications, additions? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve as presented.
I'll make a motion.
Second that?
I have a motion, a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Mark Grossman, first one on our list here.
Yes, sir. So I'm a resident of Leopold.
Come on up here.
Come here. Yep.
If not, we
No, I
want to get you
understand.
on the cameras and that's because everybody goes, who's talking?
Nope, I understand completely. So hello, my name is Mark Grossman. I'm a resident of Leopold, Indiana. Have been for about 8 years now. So just recently, the other day, I caught wind just through the rumor mill that they plan on putting a guardrail up in my yard. So there's a couple things I have on that. First of all, that pond has been here since 1978, to my knowledge, talking to the fellow neighbors. I didn't change the grade or move the pond any closer to the road. Only when you start doing dirt work, improving the property. Prior to me doing that, the county couldn't mow it. I had to weed eat it. Well, now that I've changed the grade to where it's actually mowable, I can get a lawnmower on it. Now they want to come in and put in a guardrail. So as you can see, obviously not really thrilled about that. Second of all, I put a lot of money, time, blood and sweat into improving my property and in turn improving the property of my neighbors. Only when people see that it's getting improved is there an issue. Again, I don't understand that. I've also been in contact with Southern Indiana Power. I don't know if you guys are aware or not. They're getting ready to move the 3-phase power lines that run through my field and my neighbor's field. They want to move them to the road to where they have access to it in case of emergency. Completely understand that. I have no issue with that. Actually, I haven't signed another easement with them yet, but up until now, I have planned on doing so. I think they're waiting for the weather to they already have it staked out. I think they're waiting for the weather to get bright up and they're going to do it this summer. Where they're going to run there, so they're proposing on putting 3 power lines down right where you guys are discussing putting this guardrail or approving putting this guardrail. So I went around, I got some pictures, and all these locations are within 2 miles of the location you're talking about. And I would just like you to look at them if you would. Obviously, all those are about 4 times worse than the area you're talking about. So I'm not sure why all of a sudden, after 46 years, is this such an issue?
How close to the road is the edge of this pond or lake? Or
I honestly do not have a hard measurement. I'm going to guess 30 feet. 30 feet roughly. I'm shooting
And the
from,
county has how much right of way on that road
50 foot right,
on each side?
25 foot.
25 on each side, okay.
These are photos of different.
those are all different locations
properties.
within
Okay,
a couple miles of mine, which obviously are way, way worse.
closer.
So I know it's a small town. I know it's a small community and people get to talking. They want to make a fuss, but it's really very hard for me to justify.
So Steve, you're putting the guardrail on county right of way though, right? You're not putting it on his property,
Guardrail has to be 2 foot from the
edge of the road, so
Yeah.
that's where we go in. Has there been there's not been any modification to this lake at all and that water's been that high this whole time?
I drained it and dug it out. I drained it and moved all the sludge out of it. Dammed it
And put it
dammed
right
it back
back
up.
in
It
the
has
same
never
road.
been any closer to the road than it is right now. There used to be,
Victor took this morning and showed you.
so there used to be an old fence that Steve's aware of. There used to be an old fence that the old farmer, the property, but that fence has been torn down. I tore it down when I bought the place 8 years ago. As you can see, the red poles are where they're wanting to put the power lines.
Is that on county right of way probably? The poles?
I didn't know anything
This is
about
right
it.
before you get into Leopold.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, as you're coming in, it's right off to the right.
I actually drove that. I had to drive up and down through there 2 or 3 times to see it,
Right.
you know, to,
And that's my
Realize
point.
where it
I
was.
mean, we live in Perry County. It's hilly, curvy, and you can drive within a couple miles and find. If this was on my field's edge, I wouldn't have any issues. I'd be like, you know what? If you feel it's necessary, go for it. It's my front yard, and it's going to decrease the value of my property.
you know, a lot of people say that this is for public safety because it being there by the road. But that speed limit out there, there's what, Steve, 35?
Or
I wish people would drive 40.
Well, I know.
I would be happy with that, but
Steve,
And if it's inclement weather, they should not be driving that fast anyway.
where did this start from? A public complaint of they were worried?
you guys had complaints about it.
Mhm.
County council had complaints about it, and they're gonna tell them how many residents I've had complaints from. I didn't think a whole lot about it. We've had, I don't know how many complaints from the public about this. What happened when they redid it? It opened it up, you know, there was brush or some stuff along the road there, and that little, old pond wasn't very big. Now it's a lot bigger than it was, and it looked to me like it's a little, the water looked to me like it's closer.
it's
to
bigger
the road.
towards the back of my property, towards the
Yeah.
barn. It did not move, ain't not a foot closer to the road.
But we have no telling how many people complain about it. Most of the complaints say they're afraid that in the wintertime, and you go off the edge of the road, you're gonna go in the water, which I see what they're saying there. I understand what Mr. Grossman's saying, and, you know, my job is to limit our liability. Anything we do, we have to look at liability and make sure we ain't gonna get sued. You guys had complaints, county councilman have complained about, and no telling how many residents. So if I don't do anything about it, and somebody runs in there, we're gonna get sued and we're gonna be liable for it. That's the reason I asked you guys what your opinion of it here a while back, and Andrew, to try to limit our liability with it.
I mean, I'd rather plant a tree, but I can't plant a tree under power lines either.
Yeah,
No.
Seeing what I originally, when this came in, because I recognized in you, you're making your place look nicer.
Yeah,
It looks nice.
thank you.
Mhm.
And,
And that's probably
I've
where it
spent a lot of
started.
money doing
And,
it.
If it was the
and
brush,
when we,
people
when
wouldn't
I,
see
when I
it.
looked at it, I asked Steve, could we not put like a cable barrier up, like they have more on the interstate, so it looks a little more, it's just nicer than having the big guardrail that's solid coming along there. And he looked into it, and I think he said that's only.
yeah, that's only allowed on the interstates in the median.
Yeah.
It's not, can't use it for the
And how
side.
many feet of,
200 feet of guardrail.
I mean, it's just, that's
That's a lot.
considering, that is a lot, and it's my front yard, considering the locations that are within 2 miles that are clearly worse, that you're aware, that we're all should be aware of. It's very, very, I don't understand it other than squeaky wheel gets the grease, except it's my property. I'm the one that's put money into it, trying to improve it. And this is clearly going to reduce the value.
I think the concern is like a school bus. I think doesn't Perry Central travel that road?
Yeah, they said they was kind of, transportation director said they were kind of concerned about it also.
I think what we need to do first before we do anything is get with Southern Indiana Power.
Yeah,
Because
I didn't,
if we're doing something and they're doing something,
I didn't know anything about the power poles. I brought this to you guys.
yeah, I remember.
Back
obviously
this
they've
winter.
got their stakes out there.
Yeah,
Something's going
yeah,
on.
that was just marked recently. I didn't know it was gonna be.
It's actually been marked since last summer when we first talked. That's when it was this first, because did you notice right before you get to my property, they cleared all that out by Gary Hayes? They cut all that
Yeah, I've
down.
seen those.
That's the reason it's cut down, is
But
because
those
those power
stakes
lines
weren't
are
there
open to the
before.
road.
Stakes weren't there before, were they?
Yes, sir.
I don't remember seeing them.
That's okay. But yeah, they've been there. They've been there since we walked it originally.
Got any suggestions? We're always open. I mean, one of our concerns is it's kind of one of these situations. If nothing ever happens, we don't need the guardrail. But if something would occur on an icy patch and someone would go over, hit the water,
And I can respect that, but what is the difference in this location and these other locations that I'm showing you? Somebody hits an icy patch, goes over the road, it's still gonna be
It's no different. I
It's,
mean,
it is not.
we've got a lot of areas within the county that challenge us, trust me.
Oh, I get it. Well, we live, look at where we live, and that's part of what we do. Like I said, if this was my field, I would not have an issue with it. Considering it's my front yard and I just spent $30,000 to make it mowable. And now you want to put up a guardrail so I have to weed eat and spray and
I think
That's
when
my
you did
concern.
the dirt work, everybody knows that you dirt work and that, it was made bigger and,
Well, I think
Clear it all.
when I drove past it, the lake wasn't full, but it looked to me like the lake was gonna be higher. But what you actually did was move your
the
dam
dam,
farther
the whole dam
down.
got ripped out and pushed
Build
back.
built a bigger dam,
Mhm.
but by the time it backs the water up, it's at the same level.
Yes,
So
sir.
your lake's actually a little bigger.
It is bigger. It is
Yeah.
bigger, but it's bigger on the
on
on the
backside.
outside.
The whole dam got rebuilt.
it's quite a bit deeper than it was.
Yeah, it was pretty filled in.
Because a lot of people say that when they go by there and when it
Yeah.
wasn't full, they said it's gonna be a lot deeper and if they,
That and when it's bare dirt, everybody sees bare dirt, it looks worse than what it does.
looks
Then when
better
it's,
today than it did when it was dirt.
well, absolutely. It's not gonna look better after there's a guardrail there.
It's new guardrail at least.
I think until we find out what Southern Indian Power is doing, I think we should kind of put it on hold because there's no reason to spend the money if they're gonna come do something different.
What they come hit a pole? What's the difference? You know?
The only concern is, I think primarily is whenever it becomes icy, snowy, icy.
I mean, I
Otherwise-
personally have seen a lot
Too.
worse, closer water
Yeah.
than this.
Otherwise,
Thank you.
people can drive off the road anywhere and hit a tree.
Look at Senior Holler that we've talked about where it's always washed out. I mean, that's a straight 50 foot shot down to death.
Well, the deal with Sooner Hollow, that was done by Lockmuir Group Consultants. That was federal money spent on that, so we had to have consultants. They said that, I asked about, we had a lot of complaints, people wanting guardrail up on that. I asked them about it and they said, that's all riprap, a big stone underneath there. If you put in guardrail and you don't get it deep enough to where it holds the traffic from going over the bank, then you create a liability. So that was designed with a slope. They said the car wouldn't turn over going over that. Now, I ain't gonna say, I didn't say that, the Lockmuir Group did.
We all know better than that, but I understand what you're saying.
But that's the reason.
All they did was get somebody to sign off on it.
Yeah, they said if we put guardrail up there, you're gonna create a liability. If somebody hits it and you can't get the post deep enough, you're creating a liability.
You're also gonna be eroding the ground also, deeper you go.
So there's riprap underneath the road
That's all
edges.
riprap under there, and then sooner on
And
that
I
slide
have, one of
area.
those pictures I passed around is a picture of that.
I think we need to wait and see what,
Yeah, I make a motion to
RECs.
put it on hold
Yeah.
until we get with
Okay.
REC.
I completely understand what
Yeah.
Mr. Gross
Oh,
is
absolutely.
saying, and
He's put in
Yeah,
time
I
and
just-
money in his property and it looks nice.
I have to look out for liability, you know,
mhm.
try to limit our liability.
Yep,
And
no,
we
I
have had a
understand.
lot of complaints.
Well, if I need to start calling and complaining about other locations, just let me know.
Okay,
And that's not, I don't have time to do that. I don't want to spend time onto it.
Right.
It's just, I've put a lot into making it nice and I don't want to see
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you for coming
Okay.
and
So,
staying.
We have a
Motion.
motion to table, I have a second.
second.
All those in favor? table.
Can I request that if and when this comes up again, I get notified? Because the only
Yes.
reason I got this was through rumor mill.
Sure.
Will you put your contact information?
Absolutely.
Be happy to reach out then. Okay, thank you. Thanks, Mark.
I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Next one on our list, Leonard Hoffus from the Ambulance Service.
On the agenda, it lists me as the EMA director, just want to clarify, it's EMS director.
Oh,
Well,
sorry.
sounds good.
No, I don't want anything to do with
I'm
Steve's position,
sorry.
that's too much,
EMS, I'm
way too
sorry.
much.
Leonard, get over here. That way they pick you up on the mic and
They don't need to hear me. I'm here requesting additional appropriations due to what I believe is some miscommunication, getting some additional equipment for the ambulance. Obviously, back last year, we had the ARP funds, got a lot of the new stuff, new monitors, a lot of new stuff. And I believe at some point during all those meetings we had, it was asked specifically, do we need new equipment, more new equipment? And at that time, having new monitors and everything, I probably had led everyone to believe that, no, we wouldn't need anything, but we do need to replace some smaller equipment, not large purchases at this time. These would include the items specifically were blanket warmers, a stair chair, and IV fluid warmers. I contacted Chris, asked about funding, and I'm not trying to throw Chris under the bus. I'm sure this is the way it's always been done. And since the council has moved around money to create the new account, whatever it's called or referred to as, to set aside funding for years ahead, the equipment fund that's typically there is no longer there. It all got moved, so I've been told. So there's no equipment fund to replace some of these smaller items that need replaced. So I was told we need to come and ask for additional appropriations to pay for these items.
That was blanket warmers, stair chairs, and what?
IV fluid warmer,
And how many of each are you having wanting?
well, we already purchased them. That's the issue. Whenever I reached out to Chris back in January, she said, yeah, buy them, give us the invoice, we'll pay them out of the general fund for the equipment, which at the time was $40,000. That was before the money had all got moved. And again, I'm not blaming Chris for this. I'm sure it's how it's always been done in the past. I reached out because I wasn't sure how to go about it because it's the first time I really ordered much equipment. So we'd already purchased 2 blanket warmers, 2 fluid warmers, and the stair chair. The blanket warmers are actually were placed on the county's P&L for March.
Mhm.
So, I'm sorry. Yeah, it was on February's P&L, not March. Typically, that would have went to the equipment budget. Since there was no budget, it got thrown in with the general fund as far as the P&L. The blanket warmer,
And that's on February's P&L? The blanket warmers?
I believe so.
Was that for March or February?
I
It's
don't think
February's
we've had
in-
March go out yet.
So like February is, we paid in March. Does that
Okay.
make sense? Yeah, so
You would have
like,
received it in
we
March
received it in
for
March.
February. I apologize.
So it was for March, February.
February paid in March, yes.
Yeah.
The IV warmers were just shy of 1,500, and the blanket warmers were just shy of 800 each, or for both of them. And these,
So can I chime in here for a minute? So what happened is he called, we normally have the 35,000, which was actually moved to 40 this year budgeted for equipment. And what we've always done is he orders this stuff and we pay it out of that line item. There was a lot of, in budget session, a lot of talk about putting money back for the ambulance. And then I forgot that we were going to be moving, so because of all the ARP money being set aside or to fund them, the talk during budget, if you go back and I rewatched it, was that the money that is put aside for equipment, which is 40,000, which typically, if we allocated 40,000 this year and they didn't spend 40,000, let's say they only spent 35, that 5,000 doesn't carry over to the next year, okay? And that's kind of what's happened over the years is that, we've allocated money and they haven't spent it, but it doesn't carry over to the next year. So the whole thought was create a fund to where we move the money to this new fund and put back, the number was 86,000 a year to be able to fully be able to fund a fully equipped ambulance in, I can't remember if it's 3 or 5 years, I don't remember. So there was going to be HFI money of 30,000, this money of 40, and then there was also additional money budgeted, a total of 100,000. I can't remember where all of it was, that's going to be moved to this EMA. So then I reached back and told Leonard, hey, change, forgot, this is the deal. This money's being moved because of all the equipment that was already purchased through ARP. There was no money budgeted for extra equipment. So, I've spoken with the president of the council, about this, making sure that, hey, do I pay this out of the 40 that's budgeted? And she's like, no, that's what, and I went back and watched the movie or the video, and that's what the budget was to put it back. So there's no budgeted money for extra equipment. It's basically only budgeted to be put back to be able to purchase an ambulance in the future, which normally in the past, it was $35,000 that they had to be able to purchase equipment each year, but that's no longer in the budget anymore.
So the stair chair, what is the cost of that?
It is $52,6405.
What did you say the blanket warmers were? What we've heard.
There at the bottom, there's for the total for both of them.
Be 7564.
Basically, that $879 has already been paid, but it's been paid out of ambulance services, not,
The $879 for the blanket warmers and the $1499.98 for the fluid warmers were on the P&L. So I'm not asking for equipment about that. I was kind of lumped together whenever I anticipated purchasing all this out of the equipment fund. Whether that money, where it stays like it is or not, that's up to you guys. But I'm really just asking for the $52.64 for the stair chair. And then we also have our yearly preventative maintenance coming up on all 4 of our ambulance stretchers. I don't know the exact cost on that. I can give you an estimate of about $2,000. And that's if there are no repairs or will be needed. So it's basically $200 per stretcher for just to do their annual PM. And it costs about $500 just to get them here, the company that we have to use.
And that's done yearly?
Yes.
so how much is that total?
500 plus 800. And that would be the minimum cost, and that's assuming, I haven't even reached out to him yet. I was using the numbers from our invoice from last year to get those estimates. And it was $203 per stretcher. That was about 1 hour worth of labor for each cot, and then the $500 for them to get there.
So is this an annual reoccurring thing?
Yes. The last year for sure, and I believe years prior to it, come out of the equipment fund, which is no longer available.
So I guess I'm assuming you're, whoever, the medical director's on board with buying all this equipment. It's needed for the ambulances.
I mean, I didn't ask him, but yeah, we need it.
So he doesn't know that you're getting it.
He knows we have some, and he knows that need to be replaced. I didn't tell him we were buying them at this particular time.
I know the chair, at one time, we had talked about the chair because that allows you to get in and out of the houses without trying to take a stretcher through some of these houses and get around the furniture.
Correct.
That-
It's like a 4-wheeled stroller that you see older people that have difficulty getting around, but it's able for them to sit in, and it has special wheels that we can actually go kind of glide down the steps. It has I won't say ramp on the back of it, but kind of some roller guides.
Mhm.
That way we can easily go down a large amount of steps.
Just curious, how do you know? I mean, do you have that in one ambulance at all times, or is it just there at the,
The stair chair, we have one on each ambulance now that we purchased this.
so you had one already before and you just purchased a second one then?
Correct.
Okay. So each unit now is equipped with one of these chairs.
Every ambulance has a stair chair, yes.
Out of the 2 you basically use. The other 2 are not, or
We have one on every ambulance, all
So we-
5.
all 5
All
have chairs?
five.
All 4 of the 5 have similar to what we just purchased. The 5th one has an older style that's kind of falling apart, which the one we took out of service was also in bad shape. That's why we purchased this new one. to get a decent quality stair chair.
So how many ambulances on average are we putting on the road a day?
Minimum of 2.
And then maximum of 3? Have we ever had 4?
There's been times we've needed 4, but we don't have the personnel for 4.
I'm sure.
There's been several times that I've left in a third vehicle to go on a call and had a first responder drive when, the other crews are busy or out of town. But there has, I would have to look up, see the exact
I'm just
numbers.
curious. I mean, I don't, if you're aware of it, yes. If not, that's fine.
Yeah, very seldom we need the 4, but there's times that we definitely need the third.
So how many stair chairs are you gonna have now?
We have 5 total for good, high-quality stair chairs. The 5th one is, I couldn't tell you when it's purchased, but it's pretty rough.
But we typically only have 3 ambulances going, but we have 4 stair chairs?
5
Yes.
chairs, one of them's older. See, and it gets us back to the point, and this is, we're working through this. We don't need to equip an ambulance that we're not gonna have on the road. And this becomes a cost issue. And we're in the process of figuring this out, because if we can only afford 2, or we can only afford 3, whatever it is, there's no reason to buy new equipment just to let it sit idle. So we're gonna have to make sure we're allocating our funds correctly.
Sure.
That's one of our challenges. I know they eliminated that because of the ARP funding buying all the ambulances. And I know the discussion was we wanted to set money aside because had it not been, I think in last year, we utilized the equipment to pay off the subsidy also because there was money there. So that was a grab area. But we paid subsidy last year out of opioid funds to get us through that one. We bought all the equipment last year out of ARP funds. And we bought the first ambulance that was delivered in '24 out of tribal funds. None of that comes from county government taxes or anything. So just to make us responsible as a county, that's why they decided to set aside some money, because those are not reoccurring sources of capital for us to buy things. And so I understand why they did it. You've got an ambulance lease in there this month.
That's the other 30 that goes towards that's the other amount that goes towards the 100.
Yeah, but you're paying out $7,100 and some odd dollars out of that fund. It's on accounts
On
payable
there.
this month.
Okay.
Do you know what that's for? But I mean, we have a $39,000, which I think is a subsidy for February.
There shouldn't
Can
be
you?
anything.
I think it is. Don't quote me on it, but I was thinking that was the subsidy, but then there's also a separate fund that's the ambulance lease fund that's having a payment drawn out of
We shouldn't
$7,100.
have anything out of it. Let me go look.
I'm not sure what, other than the P&L that we sent, that Megan sends, I'm not sure what else there would have been.
And see, that would be my question, why it's coming out of, it's an ambulance lease fund. It's in the 40 or 4,000 range fund is what it is. The one your subsidy fund's a 3 number, 33 or something in that.
That was requested from the hospital? Or you,
I don't have any idea. We just get the accounts payable, and I noticed that there was 2 payments coming out this month out of 2 different funds.
When is the next ambulance coming in then, or has it came in?
They were, I need to check with them again. They acted like they had the box ready to go, waiting for the chassis to arrive. And the chassis they thought would be in the next 10 days, and that was probably a month and a half ago that I checked with them. So I haven't checked again. I told them to keep me up to speed, but they haven't.
Okay, on that ambulance, will we transfer
Yes.
equipment over to that? So,
yeah, we don't need to buy
Yep.
new equipment for
Okay.
another truck. Well,
that's what I wondered
the
about
whole
the stair
ambulance,
chair.
the whole ambulance deal, Becky, is we need to get quality trucks.
Right.
We don't need a fleet of them as we have
No.
now, and a lot of them aren't real great. So we need to get the equipment up to speed and get a determination as how many ambulances we're gonna have on the road.
Mhm.
that we
Or how many we could put on the
we
road.
can or what we can afford.
Mhm.
You know, and that's one of our challenges. There's no reason for us to have 6 ambulances and we only put 2 on the road. It's just, we've got to, but what we put on the road, they need to be top notch.
Yes, they do.
So,
Lives depend on it.
So back to Leonard.
I don't know, we just have to look for money. I don't know where, he's basically looking for $5,300. Plus, he's gonna need to service those,
Another 2,000.
those ambulances.
Approximately 2,000 for the maintenance of the
Mhm.
4 stretchers. And they do, the stair chairs are the same brand as the stretchers. So at the same time, they also look at the stair chairs to make sure they're still
So basically, they
work.
charge you $500 to show up and then a couple $100 per.
correct.
And they'll
And
probably
then
charge
plus
you.
parts and material if they
If
find
needed.
something. I know there's one stretcher that has a set screw that vibrated loose at some point. So the handle's telescope on the end and it'll come all the way out if we don't pay attention. So, I mean, I can't imagine a set screw costing. I don't even dare to guess.
And you work in a medical profession?
Right.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
but
All right.
little things like that,
So you're
that's what they're
basically
looking for.
looking for about $7,300.
Yeah, give or take.
Or 7,000, it all depends.
And I haven't scheduled that yet. I wanted to wait till after today to see if that was even feasible or where that's gonna be paid from. Typically, it's done in April. The last couple of years it has been. And it's usually, Brendan Berger was the one that scheduled it last year, and he said it was about 3 to 4 weeks before they actually got to him once he made that.
Where do they come out of?
The guy that came last year come from Wisconsin. So Brandon, according to Brandon, he contacted Furno, which is the company that makes the stretchers, and they have a list of approved vendors that can service their equipment.
Can you tell me that?
And
That's gonna be fixed. It's supposed to come out of 1170 public safety, because you have the 225 that's supposed to be coming at 225,000, coming out of general, that's supposed to divide it by 12. Then you have the 60,000 that's in a public safety ambulance services, which is 60,000 that's supposed to be divided by 12. We just had it as 1,000. She had the wrong fund.
She had the wrong fund number down.
Yep, for
That lease
March
fund. Is there anything in that lease fund?
30,000. I should have brought my.
Is that what they're
That's
setting
part of the 100.
aside to the
Yes.
100,000? So we don't
Yeah.
spend that either.
There's multiple stuff. There's there's part of general, there's part of lit public safety, then there's HFI money, and that all adds up to 100,000.
So Leonard, can you give us a little time to look for something? I think it's something that we need to do, but I think we
We
need
have
to
to do
also ask the council. I don't know off the top of my head where we grab the money right now, but we generally have an idea what you're looking for, and,
Typically, he'd have to come here because it's budgeted out of
Right.
your budget and ask you permission, then it would go to the council. for
then we
them.
get an additional
Yeah.
appropriation from
Request.
something, but we need to find a source where we can come up with the funds.
it was kind of unclear. I understand moving the money aside for next year, but does all of that have to go?
I don't
to
think
that
it's,
account?
I don't think it's for next year. What it amounts to is we sit down here and an ambulance, if we do a remount's 200,000, if we buy a new one, it's 300,000. We just went through we spent in 24, $1.2 million on equipment and ambulances and everything inside of it. And then whenever we realized that the interior equipment inside of that ambulance has about an 8-year shelf life,
Correct.
we decided, that's a big bunch of money and nothing's being set aside because that day will come again.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's why the council chose to turn around and say, with the ambulance, the equipment and this, we need to set aside money that rolls over year after year so that when that ambulance is needed or that equipment needs to be replaced, they actually have some funds available rather than trying to pull $1 million out of a county budget in 1 year. Is gonna not
Right.
happen.
No, I understand that.
So that was their intent, to set it aside. simply, and so when you come in and say, my ambulance is junk, They go, well, we got the money to buy a new one for you.
Okay,
So it's a responsible planning. What it
Sure.
amounts to.
So in other words, we just gotta find which fund to steal money from.
okay.
That's not a good word to use.
Beg, borrow.
So you had mentioned the number of trucks on the road. Do you have a number that you want us to stick with? That way we know.
Here's where we are right now, funding wise. You know, we're a little unclear as to what it takes to put one ambulance on the road 24/7, 365 days a year. And at that point, whenever we come to that, then we have to take a look at our budget and say, you know, we'd like to, but can we afford? And that's kind of a number that we've got to determine and then see how we could get what we would desire funded in the county system. So that's the kind of things I think, I mean, I don't know, I think Deaconess is doing some studies. I haven't talked to them in a while to see whether there's any areas, as an example, Pike does transfers. And that generates quite a bit of money for them, but that's a third ambulance and they do them. I don't know whether that's an available option to us. But if it does, Pike in 23 told me they didn't need a subsidy at all. And in 24, it was $250,000 is what they required in subsidy. So we need to look at all those different options as to how a relatively small county can make their ambulance service top notch and at the same time not overly burdensome on the budget.
Sure.
Open for ideas. It's not easy. It's not easy. And we don't want you making a lot of extra runs because everybody's hurt and sick in the county. That's not what we want either. So it's just one of those challenges.
Right.
So,
That's all I have.
all right. Thanks.
Thank you,
I
Leonard.
guess we don't.
Keep up the good work. I might need you sometime.
I hope not.
I hope not either.
We can just take it. Well, we just need to determine where we can maybe come up with some funding
Forward, okay.
to pay for it. So. Next item up, we have Tracy Fisher.
Good
Good
morning.
morning, Tracy.
I am here this morning to request support and approval of the community corrections grant applications, as I do every year this
You're
time
not
of
looking for
year.
money though, are you?
Nope.
Good.
No, this is all grants, all county funded, or all not county funded, all grant funded. I have the community corrections grant, which covers our day reporting and house arrest programs, and we're requesting, you guys received the grants, $314,052 for 26. That's an increase from last year just to cover the increases of salaries and benefits for all the community corrections staff. And then the drug court program grant is a separate grant still through the community corrections, Department of Corrections grants. And that request is $111,297. And of course, again, that is an increase from 25 to 426 to cover the increase in budgets and for salary and benefits for the staff. So for both of these grants, I need approval signed for me to submit them.
And that is from January 1 to January 1? Is that how they run?
Yeah,
June
January to
26.
December 31st. Yeah, it's a
And that's
great
how
year.
all your funding
Yes.
occurs through these grants.
Yes, yeah, we require no county funding, so our project income, the income that we get from our clients' payments and drug screens and other grants, there's another grant that is on here as well, that pays for all of our operational costs that we use.
And how many years have you done this?
Since 2008.
Been forever.
Yep. So that's just the letter
Anybody
I.
got-
I make
you
a
have
motion,
questions?
Thank you for putting it together.
We have a motion to approve the grants. Do I have a second?
So those
second
two, thank you. Those two grants are, last year, the Indiana Office of Court Services grant was also included in with these grants.
Mhm.
This year, they're requesting a separate application, which is the third one that I had sent. So that one, it doesn't need signed
Thanks,
approval or anything. I just wanted to bring it up that we are applying for that this year as well. We've applied for it the past years. It's just on a separate application this year.
All those in favor of approving these grants? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Yeah. I'll send you.
Is that the only one we
Signed.
need to sign?
Yes, that's the only one that needs signed.
Steve, you're up next.
Just so everyone knows, we have 25 county roads that are closed due to high water. It could change every day, but we've got the list here if anybody wants to, in case you're going out in the sticks.
First of all, when Mr. Grossman was up here talking, I said I didn't remember any stakes being there. I looked back at my pictures I took last fall. I try not to tell you guys anything that ain't true. Those stakes were there. I guess I assumed that they were to do with the grading,
With him,
so he was
with his
right
work.
about that. The stakes were there. I just wanted to clarify that.
You're such a good man, Steve.
I'm asking you guys to sign the annual operations report for the highway department. I sent it to you in emails probably close to a month ago, maybe.
You submit that to the state, right?
Yes. I've already submitted to Purdue, to LTAP. What they told me to do in the past years is go ahead and submit it, and when you guys sign it, then I send them that signed paper also.
Comments? Everybody, honestly, I didn't look at it this year.
I did.
I looked at it last year, I went through the whole thing, and I thought, well, it probably hasn't changed, but I'm gonna do it. I've still got it there to look at.
I think that I make a motion.
Got a motion to approve the annual operating report by the county highway. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, boy, Steve. You and your yellow.
Yeah,
Either my pen doesn't work or that yellow stops it.
I think the yellows.
I've got an additional appropriation. This is to appropriate the money for our community crossings, the second one from last year.
And you've got
I
that,
got one.
Okay,
you've got that in your account.
Yes,
over,
we
right?
do.
So we're not.
we just have to appropriate before we can
Yeah.
do anything with it.
I need a motion to approve the appropriation. This is for the section of Leopold Road to 66 that we accepted the
That's
bids
what was
last
left.
year. So,
Make a motion?
do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Something I want, or when you get done, Steve, I want to bring up something.
Okay. I had a resident contact me about the old Snyder Curve area out on 37 between Gatchel and the New State Garage. He was here. This was his wife's family's farm years ago, parents and grandparents. I think this happened when it was a state road. They moved the curve there. They changed the road and moved the curve. And there's a little section of road that goes off of our road that went back there that we hadn't used in years. Nobody's used it. It's all growed up. And they were requesting to turn that back over to them, that right away on that section. Is that
Okay.
correct?
Is it was it a county road?
It was state when this was done. The state turned it over to the county. And I guess we got the right of way that was that was under state right of way.
Okay, Andrew, these old roads, and I've ran into them before, were basically taken over in like the 30s because the state highway system came in. And a lot of it doesn't have clear title.
Okay.
Now, it's one of these things that were just taken.
I can speak to that.
Yeah, come up. You might be able to enlighten us because I know we've ran into that before that,
We're
at
talking
the
about,
time they came through and everybody said, the state's gonna take over the roads and they're gonna take care of it, and everybody went, great. And now we have areas that's been a road forever, but the clear title to the real estate underneath it is somewhat questionable.
There's
So-
some of it's going back 100 to 150
Yeah,
years.
it
It's
just-
ridiculous.
So,
If I may add,
Yeah.
my name is Lou Mancy. My wife is Sarah Hunstein. We recently acquired 100% ownership of the property. And during the acquisition, David Lynch did a survey of the property, which revealed a lot of information that was unknown to a lot of people for many, many years. During the survey, what he uncovered is in 1932, when the state went in to straighten that portion of the road out, they had the owners of the properties to provide access or to give over the land. And there are documents that David provided us that attest to that and verify. And it was her grandfather and her great-grandmother deeded over that portion of the land. It's a very small section. It's only roughly, it's less than an acre, I think. But it's a small portion on the very front of the property where we'd like to make some improvements to. And I have some pictures here, if that would be helpful.
Because when Steve refers to the corner, Snyder's Corner, he loses me.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of corners out there,
Curve, not a curve.
curves, whatever.
Yeah, it's been called Snyder Curve because it was the Snyder family from the late 1800s that owned the property that became the Hunstein property. The Snyders were her
So you've got
grandparents.
classified forest on there.
That's right, it's classified. There's 5 acres. I'll show you a photograph. So this is a current Google Earth, and this is Snyder Curve, which is just north of Gatchel and below 70. And this is the property right here. The classified forest is over in this section, and then there's 5 acres that are open with a cabin and a shed currently on it. The curve you can see is, here's the current road, and then the old road is that section right there, which shows better on an older photograph. You can see it even better here. This is 1998, and now you can see the old road section. What happened in 1932 is when they deeded the property over to the state to make a more gradual curve, the state never provided the land back on the old road. And that old road has been abandoned since the 30s. And there's large trees growing in it and things like that. What we want to do is make some improvements in that particular area.
But you want to make sure it's in your name before you make any improvements.
So,
I'm sorry?
You're wanting to make sure.
Has David
That's
went in and surveyed this, and what kind of easement is the county maintaining?
I don't know, I'm just talking.
Okay.
Yeah, and we would be happy to work with the county and work with David and others to
Our
make
main,
sure everything is
our
taken care
main
of.
question's gonna be depending, and I don't know the area that well, but depending on the slope of the ground and everything around it, so that we can get in there to maintain the ditches and the areas around that we, as far as I'm concerned, I know the outlying area outside of that radius that we need to maintain just to take care of the road. I don't have a problem with deeding it back over to him. It's not of real value, and I know how those roads work. They were just taken over. There was never any payment from the state of Indiana. They just were tickled to death to get somebody to take
Or
over
do you
the
think
road. and
Andrew
everything.
needs to take a look at these?
Probably so, and we're gonna have to have a survey on it, and we're gonna have to make sure we understand the area and how much we need to reserve for maintenance of the existing road. So that's, Steve, drive past there and see if there's anything that's, prohibitive slopes or something where you're gonna need a little more area.
I don't think there is.
Yeah, just make sure you're okay with it, and then whatever that area is we need to maintain around that property, then the rest of it, create a deed, make sure Andrew's fine with what we're doing, and that's or what are the other two of you, you okay with that?
As long as Andrew can look through it and make sure that it's all legal and the survey's
That
done.
sounds really good.
It's not, I know how those roads came about like that, and I know they came through and straightened a lot of it out, and then kind of becomes no man land. There's a lot of that around, so.
Great, thank you very
Thank
much.
Mhm.
I'm gonna make a motion on that because I don't know exactly how I did it, that we, after Steve reviews it, determines what's necessary for county maintenance, that we would have the individuals wishing to have the deed presented to them to create a new description
On survey.
and a deed, Andrew will review it to make sure it's okay, and then we can act upon it. So that's a long motion.
I second that.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Okay.
I think
Anything
that's
else,
all I
Steve?
had unless you guys got.
I know with this high water and all this weird weather we've had this past winter, people that live on these gravel roads, we have 3 slides right now on roads, and they're all paved, correct?
Yes.
All those roads are paved, and they're slid. My main concern is log trucks, heavy trucks hauling on these gravel roads.
Yeah.
Actually, up near where I live, they are doing a lot of logging. And they have made their log yard right on the road. And that's not good, because then when they leave out, we're stuck with our tax dollars fixing those roads. That ain't gonna get it, not with me. And right now with the high water up, high water road is being traveled by everyone up there. It's our only escape route.
Yeah.
And I have a copy of a neighboring county. We do not have an ordinance that states about heavy truck traffic on these highway, on these county roads.
The only ordinance we have, if we've got someone doing damage, we can put up no truck signs and then we can have them fined. That's all we can do if they keep hauling.
Mhm.
That,
But you did that, and they kept
Yes.
hauling.
Yeah.
And,
There is a written ordinance for that, though?
yes.
but there is not, I remember whenever they were paving on 166 and down through there, they were cutting through Gatchel,
Yeah.
cutting through Deer Creek Road
Yeah.
and Gerald Road over through there. And you put up signs and they quit going on it. That was pavement. And they're even now, it's actually tore up part of the gravel, part of the paved road that goes into River Forest.
Yes, it's.
Yeah, they're
There's
tearing
3
it up
spots
now,
where
and it's
broke
paved.
pavement up.
And you said you spoke to the owner of the logging company?
I spoke with him and he said there was some cracks in it already, and I said, well, it's a lot worse than what it was. He said, well, we won't haul unless it's dry. He said, we can't haul out the other way or we tear up the other new, see, either way they go out, they're gonna be on a recently paved road.
But I think they need this ordinance.
I asked him about if they were willing to pay for damages that they had done. He said he would have to talk to his partner about that. I haven't heard back from him.
Yeah, well, in my opinion, this is my opinion only, they need to be responsible for all damages on those county roads.
I agree.
Those are our county roads, and then they leave here and we're stuck with it.
It's hard to get these roads paved. We need to
Right.
try to protect them somehow.
How thick's the pavement up there in that area?
Well, the area's breaking up. We had a partially paved road up there and we went ahead and paved to the intersection. So the part where it's breaking up was actually gravel before, so it's probably, no, it'd be 4 inches maximum. But the other section of it had been a paved road, was a paved road.
That's one of our challenges here with all
Yeah.
these gravel roads.
Yeah.
If we can get them for automobile traffic or relatively light traffic
Mhm.
is one thing versus a continuous heavy
Right.
truck traffic.
Mhm.
And if we have to take them to that standard, it's gonna cost us substantially more money.
Yeah.
And that's, I know, because I've looked at that and it's a
Yeah.
problem. So
I mean, I know
whether
these-
we, in this case right here, first of all, they shouldn't be operating in the wintertime.
Well, we have a frost law.
From October to March.
Yeah, and they come, and all it all amounts to is they come and get a permit. There's no charge for it.
Mhm.
We tell them which way we want them to haul out. That's, we don't have the authority to say you can't haul.
I know that they have to get them out of there, but just repair what you tear up.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
agree with you.
I'll research that ordinance.
I was gonna say, we
Right,
probably
that's what I'm
need to
thinking.
revisit that
We need
ordinance.
to
We have,
pull it out.
we have weight limits on county roads.
well, this is one from Spencer County, and I know that down there they've done so much strip mining that it
Steve says he has a copy of that
it
ordinance.
tore up the
Okay.
roads.
Bill Amos's time, that was one of the last
Okay.
toward the end of the
If
year.
you could send it to us and also Andrew,
Okay.
anything, just like your frost and, an unmarked county road, Andrew, what's the weight limits on it?
Well, I'm looking here, they have tables and they're all listed by number, so I don't know if there's unmarked
Is that an
county.
ordinance or is that,
I'm looking through our code right now, so it's generally 10 tons. It's passing 89. Let's see. There's an unmarked road?
is it a marked road up there, Steve, that they're driving on? Taking the wood out, marked weight limit,
No,
No,
so it's unmarked.
and that's not the only logging that they're doing in Perry County right now on these roads. There's 3 in there, Steve.
they got done on the Colleen Road. I don't know the new name, but they're finished on that one. But they're still working on 2, that one up every year place and then one more out in the county.
We got enough road problems that we don't,
We have
We
plenty
don't
of
need
road
no more
problems.
creative.
We have plenty. I will get you a copy of that ordinance.
Okay.
I don't think I had one with me.
Just pass that down to Andrew. Andrew, this is what Spencer County has. They had so much trouble down there with county roads because of all the strip mining. So they had to make an ordinance on that.
Yeah. It looks like it might be 20,000 for all roads, and then 10,000 for certain specific roads that are,
so 20,000 is 10-ton limit.
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
So we're gonna be well beyond that with a tractor trailer. Is that what they're using, Becky?
They're using tractor trailers.
And pulling a pup trailer behind the
Right.
loaded truck,
Pulling pup trailers up behind them.
all they can get,
It's not very not good whenever they meet a school bus on there.
right?
I know she backed them up the other day. Mhm.
See what you find out and get back with us, because we need to do something here.
We do have a fine structure. I mean, if they're above that 20,000, it looks like we can certify $2,500 per violation, but I don't know how our code would interact with this.
An ordinance we have is 500 the first fine, 1,500 second, 2,500 the third fine, but that don't pay for it.
Yeah,
No,
that's
that's not
right.
even gonna touch
That's
what you have to
$2,500.
repave and all the gravel and all the grading and the labor and the,
It's not
and the
really-
ditching.
Hey Steve, we did the tractor trailer that overturned on Fur Ridge Road.
Yeah.
We did cite that driver for the county ordinance violation for being overweight on county.
We did.
When did that occur?
2 months ago, middle of the night, just in the rainstorm.
Oh,
Fur
gosh.
Ridge Road, going to little pop, or going to K&K from.
Yeah, I know that's what I'm fearful of. We just paved that road and now you're dumping all that heavy truck traffic on that to bypass the stoplights in Troy, and that'll go on until April
You know, I
of next year.
called the state and they said it was just gonna be a couple week job. And
No,
the
couple
lady that works on the construction for the state was in, stopped at the garage the other day and said it's gonna be a year.
Yeah.
So I need to call NDOT back and tell them,
We just paved that road.
yeah,
Yeah, I would do that. Make sure they're aware that we're gonna expect them to fix whatever gets tore up on that road.
all righty.
Steve, I have a question for you.
Okay.
At the highway department, we have a couple empty offices. I was wanting to set up like a commissioner's office up there. Maybe the engineer's room that has like the little conference table. So that way, if we do need to meet or something like that, it's a lot closer for me to be up there instead of coming
Yeah,
here. Plus here, we don't really have an office either.
okay. I can-
Or if you
We
want
got
to,
the engineer's office and there's another little office that was gonna be operation manager's office, but it's never been, they're both used for storage right now. If you want to stop by and take a look and
Okay.
see what you think, we can maybe move some stuff around and
I don't know if we need to make a motion to approve that or.
It's county-owned
it's just
building.
county-owned. Okay,
Just shove the
okay,
boxes
I'll
out of
just
the
get
way.
with you and then we'll figure out what was
Figure
the
one out
easiest.
what your
And the
works.
conference room, we've also got that.
Okay,
The only thing is, if you're in the conference room, you probably come and go in and out of that. If you keep stuff up there that you wanna, put it in a desk or something, that you wanna have a separate office. Go look at it once, see which one works best.
Okay, I'll get with you, Steve.
I'll keep an eye on that up there, Steve, and see if, because this morning as I was coming in my 28-mile drive to town, I had to go across High Water Road, and when I got down toward, when I was on German Ridge Road, I met their service truck going up there. So
Is High Water Road pretty decent yet this morning?
it's pretty decent, you know, there's a lot of gravel on the edge, it could be pulled in, and that would help it a lot.
You worked on it last week with the grader and put
Yeah.
some rock
Yeah,
on
it
it.
could probably use, if the gravel was just pulled in on the sides, it would be pretty good. You know, but I mean, it's passable, but
Somebody had on Facebook, it was impassable.
Oh, yeah.
I knew it.
fill in, impassable, I don't pay attention to that stuff. People were calling me and asking me, I said, well, we just went across it, so, because we were out yesterday, me and Mike, and we were going on all these different roads to see what kind of shape they was all in, and I don't know why they put that on there.
I don't know either. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Next item up is the approval of the minutes from March 18th, 2025.
I make a motion.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Next item's up, payroll for 8/28/2025 in the amount of $194,829.38.
Make a motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Payroll withholding for the same date, 3/28/2025, in the amount of $41,544.60.
I make a motion.
I second that.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Health claims in the amount of $108,253.60.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Dental claims in the amount of $181.53.
I make a motion.
I
A
second that.
motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Vision claims, $162.83.
I make a motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Life insurance claims in the amount of $1,626.24.
I make a motion.
I second that.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Solid waste claim docket in the amount of $10,857.48.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It's accounts payable claim docket for 4/07/2025 in the amount of $894,591.33.
I make a motion.
Are we changing that? Was this the one that you asked about that payment?
Yeah, I
that
think
was-
she's gonna modify
It'll
it.
still be, the amount's not gonna change.
Okay.
She just had the wrong fund and account line.
Okay.
So I'm gonna fix that for March.
I think Becky made a motion. I second that.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
The next item up is the amendment to the edit plan. And all we did with that edit plan was add a line to it that designates that any supplemental or additional over and above what 24's edit plan will go into the special projects. Other than that, it's exactly the same as the previous year.
I make a motion to approve it.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Board appointments, we had a individual that expressed the interest in the one seat that's available for the airport authority.
Justin Foster.
Yes. Comments?
Make a
Thoughts?
motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve Mr. Foster
I'll second.
and a second.
Thank
All
you,
those-
Mr. Foster.
All those in
Stepping up.
favor?
Aye.
Next meeting is Tuesday, April 15th, 2025 at 6 PM. With that said, I entertain a motion to adjourn. One of you.
I second that.
Oh,
I need a motion.
I'm on here right.
I make a motion.
I can't do two things at once.
Got a motion, do I have a second? Becky?
Yes, yes.
All those in favor? Aye.
Oh, I didn't move this.
I was thinking then, I was writing
And
before.
trying to get a motion to
Okay.
have the meeting was